Buenos dias a todos. Good morning. I'm happy to be with you and to offer a brief message. And I'd like to thank Brother Salvador for the invitation. Unfortunately, my words will be in English. Lo siento. I also thank you for your continuing efforts of collaborative research. Confronted by the pandemic, your research collaboration is important as ever. Let me begin with something that many of you are already familiar with. As you may know, the Institute's research services and our Secretariat for Mission began last January and February initial research on the pandemic on Lasallian education in all 5 of our regions around the world. And there were 4 areas of concentration: institutional management, pedagogical management, school management, and financial management. And of course, some of your institutions were directly involved in this study. And you may be talking about that already during your days together. For me, though, naturally, the study focused on the immediate impact of COVID-19 on the educational communities, the disparity on availability of technology, the loss of connectedness among students, students among themselves and between students and teachers, and the emotional stress of the pandemic on students and teachers. Connectedness, that loss that we've all experienced this last year. Connectedness is what we call the relationship of an older sister, an older brother, to a younger sister and a younger brother. That uniqueness and hallmark of Lasallian education, its concern for the humanity of the learner and the ability to touch the hearts of its students. This is diminished by the difficulties of establishing shared values and human relationships through a computer screen. Again, thank you for your collaboration in this survey and the research you're undertaking now. And while I may be repeating issues from this research project and things you were already addressing, I do wish to mention 2 preliminary findings that's not surprising to us. For example, the study from pedagogical management identified the top 3 factors for success in navigating the pandemic: good leadership, digital literacy and training of teachers, and student access to technology and digital devices. Your discussions will explore these factors and others more deeply. No doubt your research will go beyond description, offering paths to a better horizon for our sisters and brothers, our students and colleagues. And regarding good leadership, the study said Lasallian leaders are now called to lead in curriculum reform, support educational technology integrations and implementations, champion digital literacy programs, and proactively seek partnerships with corporate and nonprofit organizations, as well as other Lasallian institutions, to address the drastic need for students' access to technology, as well as to open unique learning opportunities that would not be possible without the aid of technology. Again, your research can help school leaders respond effectively to these very challenging areas we all face today. I was also struck by the limitation of the survey and the acknowledgement of that limitation in some areas. For example, the disproportional and unique impact of the pandemic on women, or the specific distinctions of our experience of the pandemic across the 5 regions. The factors in access to resources, cultural realities, and predominant educational models. These are areas not looked at yet, but I'm sure you are focusing on a number of them. And all of these could be not only for you, but for all involved with YALU as areas of research. Certainly the impact on young people, the impact on their faith was a limitation of the study and something that is much needed. Because as LaSallian educators, we try to attentively listen to young people. Social isolation and a feeling of loneliness were experiences of many young people prior to the pandemic. Those feelings have only been exacerbated during this crisis. Their disconnect with institutions today, including the church, also require our listening, our study. What are young people trying to communicate, for example, when they say they are spiritual but not religious? What does that mean? How do we get below the surface of that? In a study in my own region, young people identified 8 values they look for in an organization and institutions. The 8 values are accountability, inclusiveness, authenticity, welcoming, impacting social issues, relationships, personal growth, and meaningfulness. The author of the study said organizations that don't embody these values risk losing the talent, heart, and participation of today's youngest generations. I think we're very attuned to those values in our LaSallian world, but that doesn't mean we don't give more attention to them with this generation of young people. If I can say a word, I know I only have a few minutes, but if I can say a word beyond our LaSallian world. We all know, unfortunately, that in our increasingly polarized societies, we are witnessing increasing violence and intolerance, lack of courtesy. We are living in a world where feelings are more important than facts, where fake news proliferates and opinions are regarded as factual statements. How do we respond to these falsehoods? This reality must also be fundamental to any of our research that we are undertaking. Some of you are no doubt familiar with the latest Institute document, the Declaration on LaSallian Educational Mission in the 21st Century, Challenges, Convictions, and Hopes. That work concluded with 12 belief statements, 12 declaratory statements, right? I think the final 2 are relevant for our ongoing research, and research many of you are already undertaking. The final 2. 1, we believe that today's realities demand taking risk and being creative. The school must always be updated, capable of remaking itself and responding to the needs of children and youth. The pandemic has certainly taught us that. And finally, the last statement of belief in the document. We believe that another world is possible and that education is a fundamental force for building it. Our educational perspective aims to build societies where peace, equity, social justice, civic participation, and the raising up of common dreams and respect for freedom and differences are possible. We visibly demonstrate our commitment to building up a more democratic and just society, as well as our option for an integral and sustainable human development that benefits everyone. I think these hopes, these dreams align with the 8 values of the young people that were studied in the research here in my region. And finally, in 2015, when I and the General Counsel drafted our document toward the year 2021, never thought it'd be here so quickly, but here it is. When we drafted that document, we said, an objective we seek in our collaboration with one another is not only making things known, building knowledge, as important as that is, but also producing new Lasallian thought that is capable of becoming a prophetic voice in the world of education and pastoral ministry. My prayers, my best wishes to you is that you, along with all Lasallians, are that prophetic voice in the world of education and pastoral ministry today. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias.